Hello, hello, and welcome back to the 5 Foot Strong podcast. I am your host, Jessica Gerlock, and this week we are here to talk about facing your fears head on. So, have you ever noticed that the idea of how we tell ourselves we'll start something after the fear goes away, after we feel confident? After we feel kind of ready in some sense, after we feel like we have it all finally put together, and somehow that moment never comes. And somehow we keep pushing it back and pushing it back. Because fear doesn't disappear when you're about to grow. It actually, it does usually shows up because you are at that stage of growth. There have been so many moments in my personal journey where I never felt ready to start something, where I felt unsure, uncomfortable, honestly scared, but I showed up anyways. Not just in my fitness journey, but writing my books or this podcast. There was never a good time, but you kind of just had to start. Not because I was confident, but because something inside of me says this matters to do. And that's why I've done it. And what I've learned is that courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is choosing to move forward with fear sitting right beside you. You kind of got to go through fear to get to the other side. I know I've personally been taught that strong people are fearless, but actually, that's just not true. Strong people feel the fear, acknowledge it, and take the step forward anyway, with the fear, as I said, by your side. Strength isn't, we've talked about, loud or flashy. It's often quiet, shaky, and deeply intentional. That next move is, you think about it, you don't even sometimes realize that you are thinking about the next move, but cognitively you do. So if you're waiting to feel ready to start something, if you're waiting to feel confident enough to start something, if you're waiting to feel the fear go away before you take the next step, this episode, you'll kind of understand that it's for you, because you really don't need confidence to start. You don't need to have it all figured out. You kind of just have to be willing to do it scared. So let's talk about why fear doesn't mean stop, and how some of the most powerful growth in your life actually happens when you move forward with fear by your side. As I said, my fitness journey, my books, my podcast, there was never a good time. There was never an aha moment. I remember with my fitness journey, it was in 2014. I've been working out before, but it really wasn't until I believe it was May. I went to California. I've talked about this many times. And was it a good time to start a fitness journey? No, but I felt like I had to switch priorities. I felt like I had to prioritize myself to achieve the next step in life. If I didn't decide to, prioritize my well-being, my health, who knows where I would have been today. I definitely wouldn't have had the confidence to accomplish things that I didn't realize I was able to accomplish. I was fearful that I would fail, but I realized that failure is just part of the journey. I've failed multiple times on my weight loss journey, but I don't even consider it a fail. I've gained weight, I've dropped weight, I've gained weight, I've dropped weight, but I've always caught myself. And that's part of it's for me and for many people, weight loss is not a linear journey. It's usually filled with a lot of peaks and valleys. So that's important to realize. And it's, again, there's no good time. Some people come to me as a trainer and be like, oh, I want to get fit for this wedding or something. But that's just an excuse. That's just an excuse for you to give yourself a timeline on something. But, even with my book, I was 31, I think, I don't even know, when I decided I wanted to write a book. And is it a memoir? No, my journey's not done. My story's not done. But did I think that my experience could help others achieve their fitness and wellness goals? 100%. I believed that I had the knowledge that I wanted to share with others that might be in a similar situation than me, trying to lose weight, or maybe being a picky eater, or being bullied, or whatever it may be. I thought something might resonate with someone and it might inspire someone. So I thought, why not? But did I wait till I got really famous and a publisher reached out to me and gave me a book deal, and that's why I wrote it? No. I wrote it because there was a purpose to it. I wanted to help others from my experience, and I thought that a book might be a good opportunity to do. Was my podcast, was there a good time for that? No. Again, I could have waited till a network reached out to me, or I just sat back and did something. But I believed in the message, and it's the same message of my book, was the same message of me training, is I want to inspire others to live their healthiest and happiest self. And I believe that the podcast was just another avenue to do that. But there was no good time to start it. Everybody else had a podcast. And I wasn't a originator on it, but I just thought that to continue my story, to continue my brand, a podcast was a great additional avenue. Was I scared? 100%. Putting yourself out there, very vulnerable, talking about vulnerable topics. Of course I was scared, but it didn't stop me. And it still hasn't. We've almost had this podcast for about 2 years now. And I think, have I gained confidence from talking about it? 100%. But confidence is built after the action and not before it. Did I feel confident writing a book? No. Did I feel confident going into writing a podcast in a new avenue I was not used to? Absolutely not. But I did it anyways because there was a purpose to it. There was a reason. I felt like this was my purpose. And I believe there's a lot of messages and positive messages that you can take from whether it be my podcast or my book. And there's another book coming for children that also just spreads positivity and positive messages. And, that's what I want. As whatever I do in my life will have a rhyme or reason. And again, I'm following my own path. I don't know what tomorrow brings. Couldn't tell you that I was going to have a podcast. I couldn't tell you that I was going to have a book. I was a personal trainer that was trying to do in-home personal training and then got hit with COVID. And then it was like, whoa, I have to pivot here. And then the book was just another pivot, but it all adds up to that same message that no matter how tall you are, no matter who you are, no matter what gender you are, we are all strong in our own unique ways and we have to believe it. So this podcast Was I scared to put myself out there? 100%. Was I scared to write my story about how I started like those dark days of my life when I was a teenager? Was I scared to put that out there? 100%. But I believed that there was a purpose to put it out there. There was a purpose that hopefully my truth could help others, maybe get on that upward spiral, who may feel stuck, who may feel fearful. That the idea is, don't let fear stop you from doing what you're meant to be doing. Being courageous or having courage doesn't mean feeling fearful. It means choosing to move forward anyways. I talk about that upward spiral and downward spiral a lot. But being courageous or having courage it could mean you're scared totally, but you still have that resilience inside of you to keep going, to put that other foot in front of the other, whatever it may be in life, whether it may be a workout. You might feel it's very hard or challenging, but one foot in front of one exercise in front of the other, one rep at a time, break it down, those small steps. We did a whole episode on how those small steps win the game, win at the end of the day. Fear, the idea of fear stops a lot of people from achieving their dreams, their goals. It usually sounds like, I'll start when I feel better. I'll start when I get this thing. I'll start what? No, that's fear. That's you're too scared to start now. Because fear will always be there. You can't be scared of fear. Fear is going to change you, and change can be good for a lot of people in a lot of different aspects of your life. The goal at the end of the day isn't to eliminate fear altogether. It's to stop letting fear decide when it's going to take over. It's stopping letting fear decide when it's going to stop you from achieving whatever you need to achieve in life. Some people are fearful of talking to other people. Well, that's going to stop you from making that connection that's going to give you the next job that you really want. Some people are fearful of making that next move because they're thinking of the what ifs. But the what ifs are only going to stop you from achieving that next step. You don't know what's behind that door right in front of you until you actually open that door. It is important to sometimes take those risks and open that door, not to be fearful of what's behind the door, but to look at it with an optimistic light. Is why am I getting this? Is maybe what's behind the door is better than what's in front of the door. But you have to open the door to see what's behind it. Growth, personal growth, often feels uncomfortable. It often feels weird because you're not used to it. It's something that you've never done before. So it might feel like you're out of your comfort levels. But that's okay, because growth often feels uncomfortable before it starts to feel empowering. We have to change. If you want to get something that you've never been able to get in your life, or achieve a goal that you've never been able to achieve, you have to do something that you've never been able to do in your entire life. That's the truth. And whether you're fearful, whether you're scared of change, whether you're scared of the outcome, whatever you're scared of, that's stopping you from whatever you're meant to achieve. This podcast, we talk about fitness and wellness and mental health. And in that sense, if we don't change our habits to healthy habits, you're not going to get maybe the fitness goals that you want. If you don't change your eating or you don't change your exercise, then you can't expect you to lose weight. It's as simple as that. If you don't do something that you're not used to, then you can't expect something to happen. We all deserve change, and everybody, I believe, needs to grow. And there's a lot of people that don't grow. And I'm in my 30s now, and there's some people who I've known for a long time that still feel like they're in high school, and they don't feel like they've grown, and they don't feel like they've done personal development on themselves. And I believe it's really important to grow. We're not made to be in this life to just stay static and not make a change. Not make a change on this world, not make a personal impact on this world. And we have to grow, and we have to face our fears to get to the next stages in life. If you want to talk about weight loss, again, you have to maybe make changes to your eating if you want to lose weight. You might have to increase your exercise. You might have to focus on your sleep. You might have to focus on your stress and, stress management. It really depends what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are, but focusing on your weaknesses and putting work into it so that you can grow and that you're not stagnant in one place for the rest of your life, personally, professionally, physically, mentally, and all the above. If there's one thing I want you to take away with this episode, is that fear is not a sign that you're failing. A lot of people put fear and failure in the same category, and they're very different. Failure is needed for growth, and fear is not a sign that you're failing at all. It's actually a sign. It's often a sign that you're standing right at the edge of your growth. It's that the idea that you're almost at that next stage, but you have to do something that you've never done before that you might be fearful of to get to that next stage. You don't need to wait until you feel confident. You don't need to have every step mapped out in life. And you definitely don't need to silence the fear before you move on. You can take that step with shaky hands. You can show up unsure. You can begin without permission or perfection. Doing it scared doesn't make you weak. It makes you brave. You just gotta do it. Because the idea of courage isn't about feeling fearless. It's about choosing yourself, even when your voice wavers. It's about showing up again and again, not because it's comfortable, but because it matters and because there's a reason and a purpose. So whatever this thing is for you, the conversation, the workout, the boundary, the dream you've been sitting on, don't let fear get in the way. I hope you don't wait for the fear to go away. I hope you start making steps in the right direction to achieve whatever you would want to achieve. And don't let you being scared stop you from that. I hope you move forward one small step at a time, one imperfect action, one brave moment at a time. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are becoming into the person you are meant to be. And growth is necessary for that. And growth sometimes may be scary, but that doesn't mean you have to avoid it altogether. And sometimes, this is true, the strongest thing you can do is to just do it scared. Scared because if you really think about it, that's when the resilience comes in. As long as you just do it. And whatever that may be, this is your sign. Do it. As Nike's slogan, just do it. Do it scared, because when you get to that other side, that's when growth happens. And growth is necessary for change and positive change. So if you like this episode, remember, please like, comment, subscribe, do all the podcast stuff. And remember, whether you're 5 feet tall like myself or 7 feet tall, we are all strong in our own unique and beautiful ways. I want you to have a great day and remember to stay strong. Have a good one.